Hello everyone, welcome back to another video where we continue on from the last video where we bought a Raspberry Pi 02W. If you bought the Raspberry Pi, you can follow along. The process is the same. So first of all, let's ensure that we have the bare minimum things to continue. We need a computer, we need a micro SD card and a micro SD card reader, and also the power to continue. So, uh, first of all, let's install the software that we're going to use to flash the micro SD card. So, insert the micro SD card into the micro SD card reader and then into the computer and make sure that it's visible. Then we're going to need a flasher. I recommend that the Raspberry Pi Foundation provides, and to get that you just press documentation, get started, install an operating system, and then Raspberry Pi Imager, or you can find it right here in software. Now I'm using Debian on this device, so I'm getting the download for Debian or Ubuntu. Now that's nothing special about that really. You can install using the sudo apt install RPI imager, or if you have done extensive configuration, you might not be able to. That's easy. You just press download for Debian or Ubuntu, get it into a directory that you can run this on, and it's as simple as running this. You should be able to find it using the terminal. And then press. This is the sudo command, super user do package manager install the image file, the deb file. If you're following along on Ubuntu or Debian and can't do the sudo apt install, and then you just press enter. Now I have already installed it, so there is no issues there, but that's how you install it if you're unable to follow along. So on Windows, it's as simple as pressing and running the exe file. Now, this is how it looks no matter the operating system. It's very simple. You just press the device you want to flash, and it's in this case a Raspberry Pi 02W. Now we're going to use this more as a networking device than a full operating system. So we're actually going to pick not the usual suspects. We're going to pick Raspberry Pi OS Other and then the Raspberry Pi OS Lite 64-bit version. I recommend the 64-bit version. You could do the 32-bit if you want, but please pick the 64-bit version if you're following along. Pick the storage device. Now I didn't follow along in my last video and bought a 64-bit version. I have a 32-bit version on my SD card. That's fine. Pick the 64-bit version in the future, and also make sure that the mass storage device that you are selecting is the one that your SD card. Now let's press next, and we want to apply some OS customization settings, of course, and this comes up as this. Now, first of all, we want to set this as different than the usual suspect because it's easier for us to do. So let's press set host name. I recommend something like working 001, for example. That's very good. We want to set the username and password. I will set that on the side so you don't see my password. Also, we'll configure a wireless LAN, but due to the complexity of not wanting to show my Wi-Fi name here, I will not configure it in this video. It's as simple as providing your Wi-Fi name in the SSID and the password for the Wi-Fi here. So if your password or if your Wi-Fi is Wi-Fi name 123 and your password is 1234, you just put that in there. You also need to configure if it's in Sweden, for example, or the US or anywhere else. Now I want the time and date to be accurate, so I put it in Stockholm because I am in Sweden, and I also want the Swedish keyboard layout. Now the services that we want to put in, now that was the last one, is enable SSH, use the password authentication method, and I also don't want these things. Telemetry is something that I don't want to have, and yeah, I don't want it to eject the media when I'm finished. Now let's go over it again. Working zero, username and password, wireless LAN or Wi-Fi. Wireless LAN country should be your country. Locale settings should be your time zone and your keyboard layout. Services, enable SSH, use password authentication, and options is whatever you want. Press save and then press yes. And make sure you are doing this to the correct SD card and not something else because everything will be erased. Press yes. Now, hopefully this doesn't take too long. Now that took a while for me, but it should be fine. Now it should start verifying the files. I will get back to you when it's done doing that. Now it's finished. Very nice. Let's remove the SD card from the reader. You have successfully flashed a SD card with Raspberry Pi OS. Very good. Let's see you in the next video.